Hello and welcome to this catch-up from the London Borough of Sutton and me, Emma Mills-Sheffield from Mindsetup, on how to get funding and investment for your small business. In this short video, I'm going to cover a few separate points about how to think about funding or investment for your business. And we'll talk about a few of the areas around loans, grants, external investment, tenders, and sales. So there'll be some pros and cons for all of these. And in this session, I'm going to give you some of the top tips and ideas that you might like to think about for your small business. It's important to note before we go any further that this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, I'm an independent consultant. So if you are looking for anything specific around accounting, around investment, any sort of tax advice, anything like that, then please speak to your accountant or your bank, or start with a bookkeeper, anybody like that who can then guide you into the right direction. Okay, so let's talk about some of the pros and cons of each of these areas of funding for you. So loans, some of the pros and benefits here you might find against maybe external investment are that you retain control of your business when you take out a loan. You may be able to apply before you have much profit, like a startup loan, because there's lots of different types of loans. You can get favourable interest rates, although currently this may vary, and different lengths of term for your loan. You also don't have to go to a bank necessarily. You may be able to make a personal loan from your savings. You may have taken redundancy payment or have longer term savings. So you may put that into your business and then pay yourself back throughout. Some of the downsides though, is it can be difficult for startups if you don't have a trading history. If you're looking for something that isn't a dedicated startup loan, they can be time consuming to apply for and go through the process. And there may be some restrictions on how you spend it. If you have a personal guarantee on the loan, obviously there could be a risk against your assets as well. So if you consider all of these before you enter into getting a loan for your business, that would be a great start. Now, the world of external investment is a huge subject area. So just to give you some of the overview, some of the benefits here is you can have different types of investment available to you, depending on the stage of your business. If you haven't turned over any revenue yet, or you're at the business planning stage, you may be able to access some early seed funding, whereas longer trading businesses would have access to a greater array of funding options. It can be good for fast expansion if you have high growth potential. Maybe you're in the technology space, you're developing something that has great growth potential behind it. You may be able to look at some external investment where somebody will take a partial or full control of your business to give you some investment to get going. There may be some restrictions, less restrictions on how you spend it, whether it's on capital assets or revenue, which would be your general business running costs. And it's very much growth focused. So there wouldn't necessarily be a monthly loan payment to pay, but it would be based on the returns and the ultimate success of the business. However, you may lose partial control or full control of your business because you'll be giving up a stake of your business commensurate to the level of investment. Think Dragon's Den when you look at these numbers, and you'll start to get a view of sort of what percentage you want to hand over, and also for what investment that you'll take. Can be quite highly pressured. You have targets to meet and deal with lots of different stakeholders. So you need to be prepared. Make sure you can tell your business story, that you have all your statistics, all of your financial information, what the return on investment will be, and also be ready to pitch to lots of different investors. And family and friends may be useful. However, you need to be comfortable on whether you're happy mixing personal and business relationships. So if you do decide to do this, it's worth drafting up a simple contract so everybody knows that they're comfortable. Applying for grants. So these can give you partial to full funding for specific projects, which you may not be able to afford otherwise. You may be able to get equipment costs covered so you can diversify or you can streamline your business. If you meet the terms, you shouldn't have to pay them back. And they can also be very varied. So for underrepresented businesses, you can sometimes find specific pots of money. And they can be quite quickly arranged if it's around business recovery. But typically now we're looking at the longer term planning. They can be time consuming, feel quite specific, and the paperwork can be a bit bureaucratic. And often there are restrictions on how you spend the money. You then need to prove how you've spent it if it's from public funding, and this can be quite a strict process and obviously very auditable, so you need to adhere to the terms. There are a couple of sources here to look for grants, Grants Online and the Government Grants Service, also Grant Finder, which may be available through some of your local libraries. That's a database online to be able to search for what is available. And the last two areas, tendering. So these can be very time consuming. You also have to wait for an opportunity from a client. You can't drive the need, so you have to stick with their timeline. If you're new in business, it can be quite hard to validate your experience and your cash flow. Also, make sure when you put your pricing in, because it can be price sensitive, that you've checked the payment terms, whether you're including or excluding VAT, and whether you have the capacity to deliver before being paid. Because what a tender, when you've been awarded it, can do is give you great organic growth with a funded opportunity. It means you can work with larger clients. You may be able to get onto a framework to provide services more in a straightforward way next time. You also, if you step back, you can look at your business and really analyze your business during the process, because you will be putting together case studies, testimonials, that sort of thing. So it's a good opportunity to sit back and think, actually, my business is doing really well. I understand my client needs, and I've got some great expertise. So it's quite a good process to go through, but it is time consuming. And the last area is sales. So if you build a stable customer base, you can have organic growth. It's low risk because you're selling what you're good at. You can test the market, see what sells, change if you need to and adjust, and then keep selling. And you shouldn't really be at risk of overcommitting. However, you may not have high growth or very fast-paced growth. So the speed can take quite some time. You also may spend your time selling and not delivering, or vice versa. So make sure you keep an eye on your pipeline so that you've always got something in process. And then think of any others. Are there any other cons to just selling more? There's something just to think about. And lastly, on this slide, you need to have a business plan, but it doesn't need to be super complex. On the left-hand side are all of the areas you need to consider when you are looking for a grant, a loan, external investment at any stage, with all of the basics listed on the left. And then on the right-hand side, all those nice to haves, that's much more detailed. So typically, if you've been looking at external investment and you're going to put together a pitch deck, you're going to need to do a lot more work on your KPIs, your key performance indicators, detailed market analysis, detailed financials, forecasting, scenario modeling, etc. And that's the end of the video. That was a catch up on the webinar that was run for London Borough of Sutton. I'm Emma Mills-Sheffield, and if you'd like to connect with me online, please feel free. Thank you very much.